worship, and so on. And then that passion remained and grew. Now, before around the university time, and then post-secondary university period, around that kind of time, close to 40 years ago, thereabout, I know that every time when a fellowship where brethren are gathered, they will always ask me to lead the praise, or lead the worship. And I didn't think that it was a matter of even a singing voice or anything, because I remember that when I started newly, while I was still while I hadn't got into full-time ministry, I would like to sing before I preach. And I remember listening to one of those times I sang before I preached, and it was a total oppression on the people. That is, the singing was a complete, in terms of, I can't even remember the key I was singing on. That is in terms of the singing voice. But the anointing was the only profit of the singing was the anointing that was on it, which was a very major profit. So it was like that, but that passion was deep and very, very deep. Now, we grew with hymns, Rock of Ages, Clear for Me, Take My Life, and Let It Be. We grew with those kind of hymns, very, very deep hymns. Methodist Info, we went to Methodist Secondary School, grew up in the Methodist and so on. So those were all there. And then the university, the integrity music came, the Nayad music, and then the Hosanna and all the music came, and very, very intense for feats and Maranda singers and all that. Wow. So that passion had always remained there. I remember attending a church before I ever became a pastor. In fact, while I was a student, and this church was very, very intense in worship. I would always go there for the sake of the worship. The pastor did not preach much or preach deeply or anything like that. He would just take it. He didn't have the gift of preaching or teaching like that. But the worship was intense. So I would attend the church, and then while the pastor is preaching, I would then take the same verses he's reading from, and then begin to get inside and be writing down inside the church. And some people will be thinking maybe it was a message I was writing, but I was getting inside from the same passage that he was reading. And so this continued until one day. Now, I then began to long, and suddenly God's gifting began to come in terms of the music gradually. Then I began to long for deep songs. I came to realize that our generation had only very shallow songs. And you know that someone says that there is a connection between spirituality and hymnology, or spirituality and songology. They get to people by the songs that they sing. Every generation depth is determined by the kind of songs that is available in that generation. So I realized what we had around was so shallow. And if you wanted to really sing something deep, you had to go 300 years back or 200 years back to get songs and hymns that will break you and make you sober before God and so on. So that became my passion. And so one day I found myself praying, and then in the night revelation, I found myself in the throne room. I was laying portraits in the throne room in heaven. And how did I know? In that realm, you know like you are known. Nothing is introduced to you.
Yes, sir.
So I was lying down there, and I heard songs coming from the ground. Everywhere, songs were coming.
Wow.
It was like as if the rocks or whatever was on the ground was coming with songs. Flowers, everything was singing. Speakers.
Wow.
We were like speakers. And you were surrounded. And then the songs I was hearing were familiar tunes. I remember hearing some of Michael W. Smith songs, and then Terry McCallum.
Yes,
and I said, so these songs that we used to hear from in the earth, this is where they came from.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. That was when something just shifted completely. And then I came out of that revelation. I can never recover from it. Wow. Never recover from it. Wow. And so that continued. That was how the receiving of songs come. Now there are songs that I will sleep and I will receive in that realm, come out and sing it into my phone or into a speaker or something. Okay, there are songs that at the time the tune will come, the melody will come, or I
Yes.
see the stereo and
Yes.
all those kind of
Yeah, I know that. Yes.
you know that. You know that.
Yes.
There are I tell you, I said it is like you find for me most times the music comes, the tune comes, the melody comes, and then I receive the words that match it, that fit it. So I tell myself it's like you got the shoe, and then God gives you the leg that enters the shoe. You
Wow.
know, so,
Wow. Wow.
you know. So that was that. Then about close to 20 years ago, I went to Jos to preach in our church there. About that, I went to preach, and then in the midst of the service, a saxophonist was playing saxophone, and a young child was in that meeting that was couldn't hear, couldn't speak, has lost her father and lost her mother. She was like 12 years old thereabout, and while the saxophonist was playing, more Lord, more of you in my life, I will worship you. He was playing that tune. And then the anointing filled everywhere. And then I laid hands on this child, and the ear opened on the spot, the tongue loose on the spot.
Wow.
And she spoke very plain like somebody who had been speaking all her life.
Hallelujah.
When they heard how she was speaking, she began to cry. Then the audience began to cry. And then the Spirit of the Lord ministered to me, take off that instrument. I said, yes, I should. Immediately I came back to Abuja. I sent for the instrument. And within 3 days, I had played the song on it. And then within the week, I had already played in church on the saxophone. And then that was how the journey of that one started. From that particular encounter of the climate. So this is the journey so far. And then God has been so gracious. Now, Pastor Nath, it will interest you to know that there were times that I could receive songs, maybe like so many in one day. So a time came that I was almost deliberately just tuned off, because if they were coming and I wasn't doing anything with them, they were not going as fast as they should go up. So all right, let's talk here a bit, sir. Okay, for a period of almost 3-4 years, every single Sunday in our church was a brand new song, brand new, deep, intense, healings, deliverances. People will be weeping as the songs are playing. And I know every single Sunday, the theme of the month had a song that went with the theme. The themes of the convention had the songs that went with the themes and so on. That was how God has helped us so far in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, sir, one of the things I've discovered about revival is one of the features of revival in a place, in a church, in a people, is that there is the singing of new songs, spiritual songs. Right. You know, when there is a revival in a life, songs bubble out. And I was going to ask you a question on your musical influences, but I think you mentioned that in passing. I know you and I connect to Terry McCalmon a lot. I know we've spoken about connecting to Terry McCalmon. I mean, I drank from Terry for so many years. In fact, this morning as I woke up, the Spirit of God just witnessed his song, Dwelling Places. So I was just blasting it all. So I was going to talk on that. But while we're still on music ministry, I want us to talk about this song that we have just released. I mean, I have the privilege of featuring and working on one of those songs. I mean, as I heard it, I knew that this was a song of consecration. And I was blessed to feature on it. And interestingly, it's been released today. It's on YouTube. One Life. I want you to speak on the song One Life. The video is out. We recently shot the video, and it's such a deep song of consecration. And I'm going to encourage everyone to go to, you will find on my page, you go to Doctor's page and Dunamis handle, get the link to that song. One Life is a song of consecration. I mean, I was blessed working on it. And please tell us about the song and your experience with that song. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay. So I said, please share your experience on this song, which is released today, has been released today, One Life. The video has been premiered on YouTube. So if you haven't experienced it, rush over to Doctor's YouTube page and multimedia. Doctor's team, if you can put the YouTube page, I will pin it down so people can click on it and go listen to it. So please put on it so that I can pin it.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Can I go on?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I saw someone asking the question and saying, Terry what? When you were referring to Terry McAlmon. Terry McAlmon. Terry is Terry, Mac McAlmon. He's a very, very deep worshiper. You can check him out, and he would help. He will help. And also they have also pinned the link.
It's on your bio.
It's on my bio right now of One Life. Just go over there. You will see myself and Astronaut singing, duetting, even on the instrument, and it's such a beautiful harmony. And then the choir, Dynamics Voice International, I appreciate you all. They sang very, very beautifully on One Life. The story of One Life is a very, very deep, touching story.
Wow.
Yes, it's a very, very deep, touching story. The song, that song was received and written in the year of 2016. That was 5 years ago, and that time something very, very serious had happened around me. Someone that I loved, grew up with, and so dear and so close had passed. And while I was in that mood, within that season, within the 1-2 months of that season, I was very, very deep. I was up in the night praying and praying and writing. That was in the season that the song of One Life came.
Wow.
There is this young man, I'm trying to remember. I remember the name of this musician and musician. Passed on as a young person. I listened to his music at that time. So, but this happened. This person, we grew together, evangelized together, waited on the Lord together, shared vision together, sharpened ourselves together, and then he passed on. Actually, we have the same parents, the same mother and father. He is my immediate junior, and then he passed on at that time. And so while that was happening, I was in that mood. Then the melodies began to come from heaven, and the melodies came, and then the words came. Just one life. I have just one life to live, and it must glorify God. I don't have eternity, still destiny. I must make sense on time. I must impact my generation. I must mark my generation. I must, when I meet Jehovah eventually, I must meet him very, very well. I have just one life to live, and it must glorify. That was the origin and the birthplace of One Life. And it's very, very, very deep. Till tomorrow when we sing it, people are broken, people weep. I remember the first time it came out, some Americans came and they were in a conference about that. They wept like they would weep their hearts out as we sang that song in the video. And It's also used for altar call. In some of our services, I have just one life to live and it must glorify you. I am yours, O Lord, in time and for all
Yes.
eternity. That is, you
Yes.
own me now and you own me in eternity.
Wow.
So just one life. Please, I would encourage you, download that song. It's even a song, it's an evangelistic kind of song, I think, that will minister to the hardest sinner on earth. When they realize, help me not to waste my life, the track that Pastor Nat took, help me not to waste my life on those things that matter.
Matter not.
Let my life be pleasing. It's such deep consecrational song. That was how one life came, and that was when around the season in which it came.
Tremendous, sir. I shared with you how even after recording it, I will just go